Before we get started, I wanted to give a big thanks to PluvioSkunk for lending his voice talents to this video, and my friend Ryan for helping me in the scripting phase. I'll leave a link to Pluvio's Twitter as well as other social media down in the description below, so please go check him out, especially if you're looking for voice work. With all that said, let's begin. When you look at the legacy of Paper Mario, it's understandable how it has earned its spot as one of Nintendo's most cherished series. Initially referred to as Super Mario RPG 2 with a release on the 64DD, the original Paper Mario had quite the story development before being released for the Nintendo 64 to mass fan and critical praise. With its easy-to-learn yet fun turn-based battle system, quirky writing, creative takes on classic Mario enemies, and more fleshed-out spin on the traditional Mario story, the game swept hundreds of thousands of people off their feet. It was a title that proved that Mario's foray into the RPG genre on the Super Nintendo wasn't a fluke, and its success would pave the way for the next installment, Paper Mario: The Thousand-Year Door. Released on the GameCube, the sequel ramped up many of the variables that players loved and dove even further into the Paper namesake with new mechanics, more unique worlds, and a far more ambitious story brimming with secrets and adventure. While an uncommon thought, my preference has always been for the original title, but it's hard to deny the impact that The Thousand-Year Door had and why it's regarded as the best in the series. Not only was Mario killing it in the platforming department, but he was bringing his A-game to the RPG genre, and fans were hungry for more. Announced at E3 in 2006, the world was officially presented the series' third entry, Super Paper Mario. Taking a different approach to gameplay, Super Paper Mario left behind its turn-based roots in favor of platforming more akin to its mainline counterparts. This was a result of producer Kensuke Tanabe's decision to make the gameplay action-adventure oriented, while retaining fundamental RPG components. The game originally started as a GameCube title, but was quietly shifted to the Wii a few months after the initial reveal. Eventually, Super Paper Mario was released in different regions throughout the entirety of 2007, and was met with fairly positive reviews by most outlets. Yet the one common denominator was that Super Paper Mario wasn't nearly on par with its predecessors. Plenty of these criticisms were targeted at the series' shift from the traditional turn-based RPG system that was simple to pick up yet fun and creative, to a platformer with very loose RPG mechanics. Super Paper Mario was essentially the first game to deviate from what people saw to be the series' identity. This identity being composed of what I'd consider to be 4 core tenets, which I'd define as a fun story that goes beyond the usual Mario structure with its imaginative characters, clever, witty writing, the presence of usable partners, and an enjoyable, rewarding turn-based system. From then on, the Paper Mario series has drifted even further away from those pillars that the series' base was built on, and entries like Sticker Star have received incredible disdain. That's not to say that entries like Color Splash and the Origami King are bad entries in the series, but more so that fate has taken the Paper Mario series in a direction that is quite different from where it originally started. Where did it all begin? To some individuals, that one Wii entry, Super Paper Mario. The funny thing about this entire situation is that Super Paper Mario contains 3 out of those 4 main pillars of the Paper Mario franchise as fans view it. This game was the one that started to change some ideas, yes, but it also has numerous aspects in line with its predecessors that make it an extremely memorable entry, the key one being Super Paper Mario's strong suit, the story. Paper Mario has had more discussion surrounding it than any other time I could recall in the past few years, so I wanted to take this time to explore what makes Super Paper Mario's story what I'd consider to be the best in the entire Mario franchise, as well as a remarkable entry worthy of standing on the same level as those that came before it. For that reason, I'll be covering a select few areas I find to be exceptionally noteworthy. There will also be spoilers mentioned, so if you have not played Super Paper Mario's story, then I would advise to come back and watch this video after doing so. Without further ado, let's dive into the pages of Super Paper Mario. The general story of Super Paper Mario starts just like any other Mario tale, with news that Princess Peach has been kidnapped, so Mario and Luigi, for the first time in the Paper Mario series, go to confront Bowser. However, in a funny twist, Bowser is currently in the act of planning his raid of the Mushroom Kingdom and hyping up his minions. Appearing from thin air, the game's central antagonist Count Bleck reveals that he has kidnapped the princess and also whisks away Luigi, Bowser, and his assortment of minions. And what's his plan? Alright, get this, because this is where it gets wild, and like the development team decided to take a fanfiction in a crazy direction. To marry Peach and Bowser so their union will create an item known as the Chaos Heart that will spawn a giant world-eating void as written about in a cursed book known as the Dark Prognosticus. What? On the flip side, Mario is then awoken by a new character known as Tippy and taken to the strange world of... flip side, where he meets the familiar face of Merlin. A legend found in a book called the Light Prognosticus foretells that a hero clad in red will unite with 3 other heroes to gather the 8 pure hearts and stop Count Bleck. With that in mind, Mario and Tippy set off to gather the magical MacGuffins and find their other 3 heroes in order to prevent the void from consuming all worlds. Aside from the wacky arranged marriage at the very beginning, the general structure seems relatively safe, with parallels existing between it and its predecessors, like Pure Hearts replacing Crystal Stars or the Star Spirits, and Peach being kidnapped in the intro by some crazy new faction, just like in the Thousand Year Door. Nevertheless, Super Paper Mario makes a name for itself with how it fills its world with poignant storytelling and captivating characters connected by genuinely compelling relationships among them. With this summary in mind, let's dig into the finer points. Similar to those that came before it, Super Paper Mario's tale begins even before the comfort of the title screen, with the introduction of a magical tale and an item surrounded by mystery. In this case, it would be the Lost Book of Prophecies known as the Dark Prognosticus. There's surprisingly a lot of moving parts to the sequence when you examine how the music, visuals, and lore blend together. The lore surrounding the Dark Prognosticus touches upon its dark powers and how it has reached the modern era. While this explanation is taking place, the accompanying imagery wonderfully captures 2 variables that will constantly bombard the player's sensibilities throughout the entirety of the game. The 3D transformation mechanic as seen in the outline of the book, and the void growing in the background. Starting with that first detail, the book forming from that outline is the first nod to the game's art direction, where worlds will be constructed right before your very eyes. More importantly, however, is the 3D switch mechanic, which is the core feature of the Wii outing as conceptualized by Chief Director Ryota Kawade. Regarding the second of the 2 variables, right as the text reads, "But no person, after obtaining this amazing book, ever found happiness," a series of dark colors flows into the white lines. A lot of these colors are actually present on Count Bleck's attire, which could be in reference to the tragic villain of this story, who opened the book when met with immeasurable sadness. When the text discusses the frightful secrets that inhabit the book's pages, the void emerges behind the book to engulf everything around it, just as the terror in the sky does in the game. The most beautiful detail is how the void dissipates from the background right as it refers to the book's last owner, Count Bleck, and uses a word that contains more power than any other found in the opening: love. Love is, without a doubt, the most central theme of Super Paper Mario, and one that embodies every aspect of its progression and narrative structure. For an example, look no further than the game's 8 worlds. Super Paper Mario will take you to some zany locations, like the world of Greek mythology, the world's most exuberant nerd cave filled with more references than you could possibly imagine, and the depths of outer space. Although they might seem different simply for the sake of level variety, they are all united under a single concept, the concept of love. Your reward for clearing a world is a pure heart, and their consistent appearance in every world is meant to represent that love is a constant, and it can be found in any place and at any time. I greatly appreciate that love isn't a simple term tossed around without any weight or significance, but an element that plays a vital role in the identity of the entire Super Paper Mario universe. Furthermore, this game intelligently realizes that love can't be constricted to a single definition. Love is something that is communicated in countless ways and exists in various kinds of dynamics. The true genius of Super Paper Mario is the ability to have each world express a unique form of love. Chapter 1 depicts a generational, altruistic love that bridges the ancients from millennia ago to a new generation that were given a chance for the hard work of those before them. Chapter 2 tackles the quandary of money versus love, as the chapter's main antagonist Mimi is obsessed with rubies, and there's literally a whole level dedicated to working off debt. Truly the most realistic level ever put in a Mario game. Chapter 3 is focused on a love for friends and is pivotal in the development of the characters' relationships as Tippy begins to warm up to the Mario crew. Chapter 4 and 7, despite being in space and Greek mythology respectively, both exhibit a familial love of sorts, with a key difference being the connection between a blood-related mother and son for Chapter 4, and two parents and their adopted child in Chapter 7. Societal love is the name of the game for Chapter 5, as two very different groups in the Kragnon and Florosapiens put aside their differences to eliminate any bad blood between them. The Land of the Samurais in World 6 epitomizes the notion that love endures, as the pure heart is one of the only items to survive the apocalyptic end. Finally, Chapter 8 is the climactic ending to the tale of love referred to in the game's prologue, an example that love can be acceptance. And as foretold in the Light Prognosticus, the 8 pure hearts, those items symbolic of these bonds across all the myriad of worlds in Super Paper Mario, combine to form the Purity Heart. The heart created from the truest forms of love, and crafted to counter the false love that made the Chaos Heart. When you break it down, I can't help but acknowledge how utterly complex and unexpected this examination of love is, and for a Mario game at that. I really respect it. Yet, those bonds go beyond those found between the worlds. Speaking of love, one of the aspects of Super Paper Mario I love the most is the characters and the writing around them. On the Mario side, Peach has some amazing moments, with the Swoon.exe being a personal favorite. Bowser is the funniest he's ever been, and Luigi actually has the biggest role of them all. Alas, the Paper Mario series has always been good about implementing unique spins on recurring Mario enemies, like with Goombella or Bobbery, as well as newcomers in the form of Vivian or the X-Nauts. Super Paper Mario goes the latter route, with Tippy, who has a beautiful arc of growing bonds and realization, and its rogues gallery. These villains have to be one of the greatest aspects, with the seemingly hammy but incredible Count Bleck at the helm, the goofy muscle man of the group O-Chunks, Mimi, who's... oh, well, actually she's not so... oh my god! And finally, the quirky and forever loyal Nastasia. Each character gets some time to shine as they impede your progress or appear in the post-chapter villain headquarters room. And it's in these moments that their fun nature is put on display. However, just like these worlds, these incredibly varied characters are all connected by love. And that love is for their leader, Count Bleck. Their devotion to him is brought into question on several occasions, and it makes their purpose in the narrative feel necessary and humanizes them in some regard. When you look at each character, it can be hard to pick a favorite. However, I'd say there's one for me that immediately springs to mind, which is
none other than I! The master of dimensions, the pleaser of crowds, and I am Dimentio! It would do you well to remember the name.
Dimentio?
Ah, so you do remember me. Aren't you as clever as a lab rat fiending for a morsel of cheese?
Wait, hold on. What? What does that even mean?
It's so very nice to meet you. And your mustache.
I haven't heard that one before, but, thanks? So, Dimentio, why exactly are you here?
Well, it would have been oh so boring had we continued with our little old me. Wouldn't it have been? You don't even appear to have any pure hearts on you.
I mean, you're right, but can we make it quick? I kinda got a thing to do. Not necessarily sure that I trust you either.
So careless. Your words cut through me like a hot knife through butter. I merely just wish to say hello and jog a memory of you. Yet, it appears my time is running short, so I will grant your request. Ciao!
Jog a memory or two? I mean, that's funny. That actually reminds me of something that's a pretty good topic for discussion. Occurring after the completion of a world, the memories are a series of discussions centered on two characters named Blumiere and Timpani that add fuel to Super Paper Mario's theme of love and give the game that extra smidget of charm. The names Blumiere and Timpani are fairly similar to the alter egos the player comes to know in the story, so it's likely the connection would be found early on. I mean, Blumiere literally says Bleck within the first memory. Nevertheless, the predictability doesn't steal from the strength of these conversations. The setup alone in the first memory has this feeling of hardship, which is superbly written in the final haunting line. That day, that was the day our tragedy was set in motion. The future memories show various interactions filled with happiness and serenity, but also troubles and loss. Super Paper Mario's writing is already fantastic in the humor department, but these memories are a perfect example of how comedic writing isn't the only perk to this game. I personally find that these moments feel the most human and inviting sections in this experience. You want to see Blumiere and Timpani be happy, but also how their relationship develops. That, alongside the sneak peeks into the villain's headquarters, are a strong incentive to push forward in the game, and I don't think there's any better indication of masterful writing than when that passion burns in a player. To give all the credit to the writing would be a misstep, however, as the music in these memories are an essential component to crafting that alluring atmosphere. It's a simple melody, but relaxing in nature. The ambient noises of birds and wind rustling leaves in the background additionally contribute to that pleasing setting. I think what's also extraordinarily clever, but somewhat humorous, is how even the text bleeps are soothing. They have a softer quality than that of the rest of the game's text sounds and mimic the keys of a typewriter to me, which is made clear with the noise following each text block. A final detail I love about the sound design of these memories is the spurring noise at the beginning of each memory that leads into the main melody. It mirrors that of a record player starting up each time to play a new song with each new memory. And at the conclusion of the last memory, where the tragedy truly strikes and Count Bleck is born, is when the record becomes distorted, as it is cut off, just like the love that existed between Timpani and Blumiere. As the pieces begin to fall into place, the presence of the tribe of darkness against humans, as well as a love forbidden by a parent, reveal heavy shades of Shakespeare's Romeo and Juliet. What I think Super Paper Mario's narrative does so well is that it uses this form of narrative structure as a basis, and utilizes the main game's story to expand on it in a creative fashion. What you see outside of these visions is the aftermath and the lengths one man went to destroy all worlds when his already was. This further develops Count Bleck's character, and Tippy's as well, when the picture becomes clear thanks to the events in the world of the Samurai Guys.
Well, it seems as though my little intervention certainly did the trick. Just a nudge as soft as a light summer breeze, and everything is proceeding as planned. Although, I must make sure he continues to stay on the fated course.
Before moving on to Super Paper Mario's final stretch, one section that elevates the game's narrative from great to outstanding are the events of World 6. Although different in their locales and various forms of love, Worlds 1 through 5 progress similarly. Go through 4 chapters, fight a boss at the end, and secure the pure heart to be placed in the pillar. Rinse and repeat. All while this cycle persists, the void is growing, yet not at a size that spells immediate danger. One might progress through this game thinking that the void is just a plot device thrown into the background to serve as an intangible motivator. World 6 decides to break that mentality right out the gates when the characters almost immediately comment on the size of the void and then are presented with the world's goal: to defeat 100 enemies to obtain the pure heart. 100? There's no way we're gonna have time for that. What kind of sadistic king do you have to be to think that's possible when the void is... Oh. Well, that explains it. More than any other time in Super Paper Mario thus far, the threat of the void feels palpable. Mimi's distraction is pretty effective in stalling for the inevitable, but she's not the only one to appear as Count Bleck presents himself to the heroes for the first time since the prologue. Count Bleck's introduction offered a villain with an interesting design and a weird speech gimmick similar to contemporaries like Fawful, but with all of the knowledge accumulated about him regarding Blumiere and Timpani's past and the regret that spurs within him, he's seen in a completely new light. This appearance is also the place where Tippy and Count Bleck's relationship is made much clearer and practically confirmed, which alters the perspectives of these characters from here on out. Anyways, time is stalled, the world is consumed, and going for the door again illustrates the aftermath of the void and the fate that awaits every world if Count Bleck isn't stopped. A white expanse stretching on forever. It also helps that you had the travel section that seems to take forever. Not only do I love that the usual 4-chapter structure has been absolutely shattered, but that the void is used for more than a simple gimmick. Perhaps it's because I can't go a single video without mentioning Majora's Mask, but it's another game that uses that element of a looming, very real threat to be mindful of. Super Paper Mario might not go that far, but it's certainly a step that you don't see many games take in the first place. I also forgot to mention that this is actually your second encounter with Mr. L, a brainwashed Luigi who decides to drive a giant mecha that is literally just his face. That is amazing. I love that so much. That is fantastic. How is that not a skin in Smash Bros? Once Mr. L is defeated here and the Stone Pure Heart is taken from the world, the real kicker comes in. Dimentio emerges and cleverly tells him that the Pure Heart cannot be restored in this world, which he then proceeds to trap the heroes in a magic box that is filled with explosions. The next thing that happens is Mario is waking up in the Underwear, a place filled with those whose games have ended. So, in short, Dimentio practically murders the main Mario cast. In canon! That is actually bonkers, like what? Between the numerous behind-the-scenes schemes and this event in particular, there's a reason Dimentio has stuck with me as a highly memorable character.
Excellently said, my mustachioed foe. Your flatteries have filled me with a joy greater than a dozen blue whales taped together. However, why don't we give them a demonstration? After all, you were the one who said a threat is most successful when it's made real.
Wait, no. Dimentio, listen, I know you have this whole jester persona thing going on, but this isn't funny, man.
Please don't worry. I promise I'll make it clear. You haven't even gotten the pure heart, so you must be sentient. Ciao.
Where the hell am I? Is this Count Bleck's castle? I didn't expect to wind up here so soon, but I guess I was bound to get here eventually for the discussion anyways. Regardless, there's actually a lot of fantastic build-up to the final world on both sides as Tippy and Count Bleck express some form of hesitation regarding their respective goals. Ultimately, they come to accept that their destinies have taken them down different paths, despite the love that exists between the two. I think these shifts in focus go to show that while Mario might be the main character, it's Tippy and Count Bleck's story that he's starring in. Concerning the castle stages themselves, they're sprawling and radiate atmosphere with the simplistic art style and awesome music that weaves in a ticking clock to represent the party's race against time. Each stage has a member of your party face off against a minion of Count Bleck with some association, like Bowser and No Chunks being the powerhouses, or Luigi and Dimentio's interesting relationship. Each time, both combatants are seemingly lost until all that remains is Mario and Tippy as they confront Count Bleck. What I adore about the encounter with Count Bleck is that you don't exactly want to fight him, but you have to. You've seen the struggles and hardships that both Tippy and Count Bleck have struggled through, and it hurts to know that you have to bring it to an end. Ultimately, Count Bleck is defeated and wishes for Mario to deliver the final blow in order to stop the Chaos Heart and the Void.
Well done, Kay. Well done.
Oh, hell no.
I said I was sitting you on. You couldn't have even accessed the door to Count Bleck's castle without the pure hearts. Without my assistance, we would still be rambling on about the subtleties of old Chunk's chunkiness, wouldn't we?
Well, yeah, I mean that's fair, but are you saying you've been helping me?
Why, of course! I merely steered us in the right direction to reach the good parts. Besides, we rehearsed this performance before.
Before? What are you...
Oh, I'm fully aware of the tragic fate that befell me during our last show.
How could you possibly know all of this? I beat the game. I beat you. What's this Final Fantasy VII Remake garbage?
I told you it wasn't finished. I simply needed to bring us to a time where my shining victory was all but assured. But also one where you lack any of those accursed pure hearts. All it took was a little bit of magic. Act 1 ended. But the ultimate show goes on.
No matter where you directed this video, I didn't talk about Super Paper Mario because you guided me. I talked about it because I love this game. I love the music, I love the story, and I love these characters.
No, that cannot be. The pure hearts return once more. All these years and they clung to you.
Following the destruction of Dimentio, the cast returns to the White Chapel from the game's introduction. The white walls and black lines of the room hold a stark contrast to the mostly black with white lines aesthetic that composed the castle surrounding the chapel, almost as if to parallel the love and innocence housed deep within Count Bleck following the loss of Timpani. Yet as Timpani and Blumiere move to the altar to make their vows and declarations of love, that spot of hope represented by this place would be the sole thing that would save every world. The Purity Heart is formed to counter the Chaos Heart, the heroes and minions of Count Bleck find themselves atop Flipside, and Blumiere and Timpani disappear together, thus ending Super Paper Mario and the tale of two astray lovers. A heartwarming experience that altered my perception of the series' potential. The real strength of this ending comes from how moving and satisfying of a conclusion it is to the arcs of these characters. Dimentio's late entrance as the true main villain feels warranted given his prominence for the narrative. The Mario cast moves on to the next adventure looking forward as usual, and the love of Count Bleck and Timpani feels real. With the consistent end-of-chapter dialogue sequences, the emotions and regret they feel leading up to the final encounter, and their unrequited acceptance of each other. The track Bounding Through Time is absolutely brilliant in its amalgamation of the game's main theme, the evil Count Bleck, and memory, helping to bolster the strength of the emotions in this union, witnessed by those surrounding them that were once foes. It's an immensely stirring ending, and a phenomenal final chapter to Super Paper Mario. As time moved on and the Paper Mario series has gone in a different direction even further than originally intended, Super Paper Mario hasn't received as much criticism as it originally did. Perhaps people are finding that an entry like Sticker Star was more damaging to the series. Feasibly, people just forgot about this game. Or maybe people are finding aspects to love about this game. Super Paper Mario is far from perfect, but I think it's a game that has more heart than a lot of others. Just like how the Thousand Year Door showed people how the Paper Mario series could come together in a cohesively sound package, Super Paper Mario showed me that the narratives within the entire Mario series can be taken to a new, surprisingly moving place. Unfortunately, as it seems given Tanabe's recent words given Super Paper Mario's narrative, it doesn't seem likely we'll return to that place. After replaying it, I honestly believe that my appreciation for the game has grown even more since that first playthrough all those years ago. True to its final words, we met again. I can't wait for when the time is right to meet again, in another time and place.